psychology. We are studying the subject organizational behavior, in which we are doing chapter number 2, that is individual behavior. Today we are going to start a new topic in this chapter, which is organizational behavior modification. Now, what is this organizational behavior modification? So first of all, we have already understood that whether employees in an organization will work with high productivity or not will largely depend on their behaviors. And if the leaders want desirable outcome or desirable behaviors, then they will have to go through a process which is called organizational behavior modification, because each and every employee may not behave in a desirable manner. So organizational behavior modification is used to change behavior of employees. It is also called the reinforcement theory. And in this process, various responses are used to encourage favorable response and discourage the unfavorable responses. So let us see what are the different components of behavior modification, or how can we understand behavior modification in a better way. So first of all, behavior modification can be done through positive reinforcement. So positive reinforcement is the process which is used to teach a new behavior to a person, particularly an employee, or to teach them some new concept by rewarding them at successive steps to the desired behavior. That means that when a desired behavior is required, for example, if a project completion is required in a certain manner by a particular date, then there will be smaller tasks or steps to be done to reach that goal. So at every step, whenever the employee shows favorable behavior, rewards are given, like some verbal appreciation or other rewards. When such thing happens, the person goes through that change of the behavior throughout the process, and then the desired outcome is achieved. So at successive steps, the rewards are given, which is called positive reinforcement. So you keep on positively reinforcing the individual that the person is going in the right direction, so that you make sure that you reach the goal. The second is the negative reinforcement. Now, negative reinforcement is used when there are rebellious people in the organization. So many people would always rebel against certain things. So whenever they are asked to do a particular task, first of all, they will have many counter questions. That why we are supposed to do this? Why not like this? Why these kinds of policies are there? Why this kind of system is there? They always have some questions. And they always will rebel. So these people are given choices, and where they are also given the consequences, that if you choose 1, you will get X consequence, and if you choose 2, you will get Y consequence. Now it is based on your choice what you want to achieve. So by doing this, the person will choose the behavior which will have a minimum negative effect. So this is how negative reinforcement works. Then the third component of behavior modification is punishment. So here, when a person shows unfavorable behavior, then some unfavorable condition is presented to such person. Like we have already discussed till now, one example of coming late. Coming late means loss of 1 day of salary or half day of salary. So by doing so, that behavior can be reduced. So this is called punishment. So there can be many punishment, there can be many errors depending on the kind of the organization, and if a person does certain error, then such kind of punishment can be induced so that the person will always remain alert to avoid the punishment, to avoid the loss, and then will change the behavior. The fourth component of behavior modification is extinction. Now, if a behavior needs to be changed, the consequence of that behavior is completely removed. So the person is no more motivated to do that particular action. Now, what does this mean? So, for example, we all must have seen that sometimes when the kids in their innocence, they behave badly and parents would laugh at them. So because of that consequence, they are motivated to do it more. But if you want to reduce this behavior, if you stop laughing or even if you stop paying attention to the kid, slowly and gradually the kid will stop behaving in that manner. So this is called removal of the consequence. Some kind of consequence is completely removed. That kind of advantage is not given and that behavior stops. So whenever any behavior needs to be stopped or reduced or changed, then any kind of favorable condition that is coming out of it needs to be changed. One more example in the organization is that suppose there is one person who always says yes to work and there are some people who are completely indifferent. So the leader may always keep on giving work to one person and the others will avoid work. And becoming indifferent or not being available at every point of time, they try to avoid work. And because of this, they do away with less work. So, in a way, there are advantages by doing so. But if such consequence is removed, even if the employees don't come in front of the leader or avoids the leader, but the leader calls up or assigns tasks, email or something, and make sure that everyone gets equal task or equal work, then the consequence is removed and this is how the behavior will change. So these are the four components of modification of behavior. Now when we talk about behavior modification, there is one thing in the organization or with people that we would always like to change, and that is misbehavior. Why we call misbehavior as misbehavior? Because it is something which is not required. So first of all, what is organizational misbehavior? Let us understand that. Organizational misbehavior can be defined as anything that we do at work that we are not supposed to do, which is not acceptable to the management, which may disrupt the functioning of the organization, or which is usually done either for self-advantage or to harm someone in the organization. All of these are misbehaviors. Now, what are different types of misbehaviors that may happen in the organization and which may not be favorable for the functioning of the organization? So, first and foremost, the most prevalent and present in all organizations is rumor and gossips. Rumor and gossips actually reduces productivity, and that is why we can call it a misbehavior. Second is workplace romance, which is an informal relationship. People may say that this is something very personal, but if these relations influences the organization in terms of favoring the partner or not listening anything against them, if such kind of things happen, if a person becomes unfair with others, then such kind of relationships are included in misbehaviors. Thirdly, there can be destruction of property or the equipments of the organization. Some people may do it unknowingly or some people may do it knowingly, maybe to harm someone, or maybe they have some kind of frustration towards the organization and they may harm the equipment. Sometimes even theft of things from the organization happens, which is again misbehavior. Lying is also very common. People may lie so that they want to prove certain things. That is also very, very common. Again, bullying or even harassment is common in organizations. Now, as far as all these misbehaviors are concerned, There are certain aspects because of which management will not intervene in these misbehaviors. There will be some point of time, only after that the management will intervene. So first of all, why the management doesn't intervene in such kinds of misbehaviors? So firstly, if we talk about rumors and gossips, definitely it wastes everyone's time, it reduces productivity. But at the same time, organizations do consider rumors and gossips as healthy in terms of information, because such kinds of grapevines or informal networks in the organization are a good source for information for the management. It is an easy way to know who does what in the organization, because sometimes actually who does the work doesn't reflect outside. So that is why rumors and gossips are treated as good. Again, they can also be treated as some kind of entertainers and relaxation. So that is why management do not directly intervene in any such kind of activities. Thirdly, even if an employee would spend a lot of time in rumors and gossip, at the end of the day, it is the employee who has to complete the work, and somehow the employee is going to do that. So management will not intervene. Secondly, when we talk about the informal relationship between men and women in the organization, it may be counted as something which is personal. As far as they do not disturb the working of the organization, management doesn't intervene. Next, the destruction of property or the theft of anything from the organization has to be intervened, and something needs to be done by the management. Again, lying is very common, and people may tell a lie for certain things, and they are free to do so. So management doesn't take lying as a very serious issue, because many a times people will lie here and there to protect their own self. So that is why again it is not counted as a very serious misbehavior. And lastly, bullying and harassment. So if a person is harassed a lot and it really affects that person and the organization, then the management will intervene. But for certain kinds of bullying, power is used on others so that work is taken out from them easily. So in fact, power and bullying is a part of organizational politics, and that happens in all workplaces. So again, that is not counted as a very serious misbehavior. So now the question is that, when will the management intervene, when it is needed to intervene in such cases of misbehavior? Does the management remain silent for such abuse of power? Then there are different views of it. The first view that I gave was, sometimes it is positive, so management doesn't intervene. Now, there are two different things. Firstly, misbehavior like bullying is acceptable as it is required to get things done. As I said, power in politics or the individual and even organizational goals, they require such kind of push. They compel the management to use bullying as a tool to get things done. But secondly, whenever the issue goes out of hand, when it goes too far and it really hampers the climate and does serious harm to the organization, at such a time, the management must intervene. And when the management intervenes, it is very important that the management clarifies the policies and the practices of the organization and warn the individual not to repeat such kind of misbehavior. Because to deal with such situation, rather than taking other actions to punish the person, the manager must be very clear and straightforward. At such times, the intervention of top management will reduce the misbehavior and enhance the ethical behavior in the organization. So this is how organizational behavior modification can be done by various ways, and misbehavior can be dealt with in the organization. And to what extent misbehaviors can be tolerated and not tolerated can depend on its intensity and the kind of effect that it has on the organization. So I hope you have understood this topic well. Thank you.